Well, let's talk to Joe Truzman, who's Senior Research Analyst at FDD, which is an independent think tank focused on national security and foreign policy. Joe, welcome to BBC News.
Thank you for having me.
So President Trump, of course, will want a lot of pomp and ceremony to mark this inaugural meeting of his so-called Board of Peace. They're going to announce the $5 billion funding in the pot to help rebuild Gaza. Give us your take on how effective this will be.
Right. I think it's very important to note that what I expect from today's meetings, for example, I don't expect immediate breakthroughs, but the establishment of a framework. This is the first formal meeting, of course, of the board. So I think the primary goal will be to align key international stakeholders on issues such as reconstruction, of course, their security and governance of the Gaza Strip. I think one major outcome will likely be financial coordination, clarifying which countries are committed to funding the rehabilitation of the Gaza Strip, how much money will be distributed, and what conditions are attached to it. So, and another important factor here in rehabilitating the Gaza Strip, and it's a difficult question, is security. There will be discussions about how to prevent Hamas and other armed groups reconstituting its military infrastructure. And I think these international stakeholders may want to know or will want to know how that money is used, or those funds are used to reconstruct the Gaza Strip, for it to go to the civilian population or civilian infrastructure, and not Hamas and its armed allies.
Yeah, there's so many difficulties and challenges, are there not? Some of which you have just described. I mean, when we look at the members of the Board of Peace, we've got former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. You've got, of course, the US heavyweights Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, among others. We had the UN Security Council meeting late yesterday, where they were talking about some of the issues, big issues, problems with what's going on currently in Gaza and on the West Bank. One very high-profile UN official calling Israel as de facto annexation of the West Bank. There's just so many problems, is there not?
Absolutely. I think another problem that should be highlighted as well is that the near daily acts of violence in the Gaza Strip between Hamas and Palestinian armed groups. Since the ceasefire went into effect last October, again, we've been observing near daily shootings between these actors. Now, if this Board of Peace wants to ensure that the ceasefire goes through completely, the current status quo cannot remain. Hamas.
So given what you're saying, sorry, Joe, to interrupt you, but we're tight for time. Given what you're saying, therefore, what do you think President Trump will present to a global audience at the end of this inaugural meeting? What will they say they have decided on or achieved or established?
Right. Again, as you said, this is the first formal meeting, so I don't expect a lot. All right, this is, as you mentioned earlier, this is very complicated. A lot of questions here, a lot more questions than answers. But I think this is hopefully the beginning of something. And the key actors that are involved in this Board of Peace, of course, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and other actors and other countries rather, will have the say, have the influence over Hamas, and some, of course, over Israel, to try to ensure that this ceasefire works. However, I don't see this happening in one day and in one meeting. So I expect to see some information come out today, but this may take some time, unfortunately.
And what about the point that's being made over and over again by many, that actually the Board of Peace, as it has been established, is something that undermines the United Nations and the whole point and role of the UN?
Right. I think there is some validity to the concerns, especially since it's such a large board of peace, meaning the countries that are involved. However, I don't think I think things should be taken one step at a time. Now, President Trump wants to bring peace to the Middle East, specifically in this situation, the Gaza Strip. I don't know if that can happen. So before we get too concerned about what President Trump may or may want to do with this board of peace, I think he should be given the opportunity to figure out Gaza first. So let's wait. Again, today is the first meeting. Let's see what happens and go from there.
Okay, Joe Truzman, thank you for your time, and we shall keep a close eye, as you say, on how that meeting goes. Still to come.